Welcome to The Curve Weekly, the podcast that keeps you up to date with all of the money, business and stock market tea.
Brought to you by the Curves research team. It's the latest insights on what's happening in the stock market, companies, other money-related news so that you can stay educated and ahead of the curve.
You can thank us later for sounding smarter than those finance bros at your next dinner party.
Okay, look, we're going to have to speak really fast because we've only got half an hour, so this is going to be a really quick podcast.
I hate when we do this
I
because the podcast is my favourite thing to do. I don't know why we ever rush it, you know?
And it's also like a bit anxiety inducing.
Because if you say something shit or you've got shit chat for like 10 minutes, then the podcast is not going to be
You're
long
like, damn
enough.
it, why did you say that? Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, do you like my new pants?
Yeah.
They're brown.
Are they
and pink.
brown? Nice.
Yeah.
Look at me. I'm in shorts.
Look how good they are. Do you like them?
Nice.
I reckon they're so good.
You just did the skanky leg. Stanky leg?
Like a hip hop dancer.
Yeah.
Stop it. I always
Stop
wanted
it.
to be good at hip hop. So
Yeah.
bad. In fact, actually,
Oh
I
no,
went-
we have to bring out the hip hop dance.
should
video.
we? Should I play it? Like, actually, I'll send it to
Oh.
our producer Emily to actually include, because I don't get embarrassed very easily. Like, I'm kind of like, oh, whatever. I accidentally went to a full-on advanced dance class in London thinking like, oh, how advanced can it be? And I got there and it was like professional dancers. And I was just lagging behind in the background. It was like honestly the most uncoordinated, embarrassing, unsexy dancing you've ever seen in your life.
And then like times that by 10. Times that by 10.
It's so bad. So
honestly
bad.
comical. It's
It's so
but like honestly,
funny.
I would have run out of there. Like, good on you for trying.
Oh, you have no idea how many times I wanted to leave. But I almost thought it'd be worse. But then, yeah, it was. I was so bad that I thought I'm going to be ruining the rest of the dancers class because they're just going to be so distracted by this like incredibly uncoordinated person that just cannot for the life of them remember the dance.
But like, good on. Yeah, I feel like the people would be like, oh no, you know, we all were bad at some point at something. Do you know what I mean? It was always our first time trying something and then you get good. Whether it's tennis, whether it's investing,
Totally,
whether it's
but go to the beginner
cooking.
class.
Yeah,
Like
true,
just
yeah.
don't go full tit into your advanced class.
That's like the other day, Flower Man went to his first yoga class.
Oh my
and-
God, good on him.
I know. And he turned up.
Is that because we were
And-
like ripping men out for being like incredibly unbalanced in our last Curve Weekly?
Probably. Anyway, he got there. He was like, he's very talkative and was like talking to the other people in the class. And he's like, and the instructor's like, oh, so we're ready for our advanced headstand class. He was like, what? And then he turned to the guy next to him. He's like, what class is this? And it was advanced headstands instead
Oh
of
my
yoga.
God. I could have got into that.
And he stayed. And he
Did he?
did, yeah. I was
Shit,
like,
yeah,
go
Flower
you.
Man.
Yeah,
God, that's good. Maybe, do you know what? Benny Blanco, like all these actually nice guys are starting to get profiled, right? Maybe the fuckboy will be gone forever and all of a sudden men are going to start just being cool, calm, collected, in tune with themselves, you know.
Trying new
just,
things.
Yeah, maybe the soft boy is coming in. I hope so.
Well, because we're on a time crunch, let's jump straight into it, Soph.
Can I just say one thing quickly? I just got back from being down south on like a little family getaway. Someone in my family's been having a real shitter of a time lately. And I had a real moment on the plane on the way back thinking about the whole thing. So my grandma, who is 86 now, but her husband died when she was 44 and she'd never paid a bill in her life. She didn't know anything about money. She was so separated from any of the finances in the family and she just had to figure it out. She was like on her own. My granddad died within 3 months. It was like the quickest thing ever. And then all of a sudden she's like, shit. Anyway, point of the story is she invested so well and she invested in property. She took advice from people around her. And anyway, she's now in a position where, like, the other day we were talking about someone in our family who's having this really awful time, and she was like, do you know what? Let's just go down and cheer her up. Let's go down. I'm going to book the flights. She whipped her card out and she bought both of us flights down south. She booked really beautiful accommodation so that we could have like a little cute family time. And she was just like, honestly, her words were, oh, blow it. We only live once. But for her, it was like the
Flexibility
freedom
to pay. Yeah.
100%, like being in a position where you can make a decision to do something beautiful for the people that you love and it not be something you have to think twice about. I was just like, I really hope one day I am that example for my grandkids. You know, it was just like, I was honestly on the plane, like kind of tearing up, just being like, God, she's an amazing example. And I'm so lucky to have had that. Just such a strong woman that is totally independent and self-sufficient, and she had to learn when there was no curve, no financial education. She was just totally on her own, and I just was like, God, that's cool.
Go Granny. Love that.
Go Granny. I also tried to play her a Candice Bushnell episode, and I was like, Granny, have you listened to our podcast? She was like, no, what's that? I was like,
What's a podcast?
I'm so offended, but also I get it. Anyway, sorry, we can move on to stock market news. I just thought that was like a really cool thing to reflect on.
No, it's true. And it's like, it's not only your own money and wealth that you're, you know, trying to grow and prosper and be independent with. It's like money does, you're right, it brings you the freedom to make those decisions to spend money on what you value. And if that is, paying for flights to jump down to be with a friend or a family that needs you, sending flowers to someone who is, you know, sick or just needs cheering up, or like all of that stuff comes down to, you know, what do you value in terms of...
And being clever with your money now. And
Yes.
also, I think the other thing for me was like, it spans generations, you know, like the financial knowledge, the idea of having money, like it is intergenerational. And I just think it was like, you know, I was so lucky to be able to be there, but I wasn't in a position personally where I was like, don't actually, do you know what, Granny? Don't worry. I got this, you know, but I
One
thought
day you
one
will.
day I will. And it was just like a cool feeling to be like, how cool would that be when
You're like, great idea, Granny. Great idea. Book 2, you know? Book 2 rooms. Book
I'm
2
like, whip
flights.
that card
I'll
out.
come.
Yeah.
You know, YOLO, get the business class flight. YOLO, get the... No,
She did. She booked beautiful accommodation. Honestly, it was we went to Millbrook. I've never been. I thought that I'd go there to, you know, maybe get engaged one day, but there I was with my granny, and I just thought this could not be better. And I actually thought maybe the golf guys are onto something, because this shit is beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
There's some incredible golf courses around. Okay, Amazon. There's been a bit of a tit for tat spat, some more big dick energy, whatever you want to call it, between Jeff Bezos and Amazon and Donald Trump. So
Oh, is it weird that I'm into this?
I know. It's
I'm like, good.
Fight billionaires, fight.
Yeah.
And we'll just sit there with our popcorn being like, ooh, how's this going to unfold? How are these billions going to get thrown around?
There's spare change.
So, So they, Amazon came out saying, look, we're going to put the tariff amount on a receipt, you know, on the transaction so everyone can see it when you buy something from Amazon. And Trump got really up in arms because the whole thing was that Amazon was trying to show customers that at the end of the day, customers end up paying for these tariffs. And so Trump didn't
quite
like
clever.
that. Yeah, so Trump didn't like that. You know, he was like, here's a company that...
Oh, darling, did you not like it?
Did you not think that would happen, darling?
Oh, poor Trumpy.
Did you think these billionaires would just suck it up and it would eat into their fortunes? No.
Oh, God.
Of course, everything gets passed to the consumer.
Oh, darling, should we sit down for a chat?
That's economics 101. Maybe if you had some kind of business bone in your body, you would have realized that. Anyway. Sorry.
We could do half an hour of that, so we should quickly move along.
But yes. So essentially, Jeff Bezos was like, people deserve to know the impact that these tariffs are having on their finances and deserve to know that they end up paying them. And it's not the companies, it's not the country, it's not the government, it's the people.
Since when are Jeff and Trump not buddy-buddy? I thought that they were kind of like you know, in a relationship?
There's been a bit of a fallout. There's been a bit of, what do you call it? Kind of iciness,
Beef?
I guess. Yeah, a bit of beef. Yeah. But I remember seeing a TikTok, and it was this girl who was buying 2 triangle bikinis, like, you know, that Australian brand, and there's
Oh, the smallest bikinis of all time.
yeah.
Like basically the thing that goes across your bum is like just a string. Which,
yeah.
and by the way, I don't mean that in a like snobby, it's not, like I have no issue with people wearing skimpy bikinis. It's just more if I order like an XXXL, it still doesn't cover like anything.
Oh, I bought one. I saw all the supermodels in it, and I was like, I want to buy it. And then I was like, oh dear gosh, never wear this again. But
Yeah, it's not it's not flattering, I don't think, on like anyone with any form of like curves in any area.
Great brand, love it, all of that. Yeah, just not for me personally. But anyway, someone had bought 2 bikinis. I think it was like $1,000 US, but the total bill was $2,000 US. And they were like, what? And they showed like two bikinis, $1,000. Shipping was like, I don't know, $8. And then duties and taxes, $1,000.
Oh, that's genius.
In tariffs. And they were like, what? So yeah, these brands are not sucking it up. Like, small companies can't. Like, they have to pass it on. I mean, the Amazons of the world could probably suck it up, but
So hold on. So sorry, did this girl pay $2,000 and the bikinis got there and then she saw it, or she got to check out?
no,
and realized
she was
that,
got to check out. Yeah, she got to check out and was like,
Gee,
whoa, I'm paying
that's
double.
so genius. So they're adding that on
Yeah.
so you can see
Yeah.
it before you buy. You're like, no, won't be buying that.
Yeah. So anyway, so this is the whole conversation, is it's going to lead to inflation, because yes, we might be talking about a bikini, but like Amazon, like there's a lot of products on there people actually need, you know, they're essentials. We're talking about groceries, we're talking about household items, you know, things that people genuinely can't just be like, oh, I won't buy that. So there's got to be inflation happening at a rapid rate in the US sometime soon. Like there's just the price of these goods are going up like so much. It just can't not happen.
Can inflation be somewhat gatekept? Like, is there a world in which the US is drowning in inflation and we're okay? Or is it just naturally, because we're so intertwined with the US economy, it's going to go everywhere?
Well, there's talk of like in the short term, like Europe, Asia, and like countries outside of the US will actually have, you know, could have deflation or deflationary pressure, which means that, you know, prices stay lowish but don't actually go backwards. And that's because all these goods that now people aren't buying in the US are coming to the rest of the world. So we're almost getting flooded with the supply of stuff. So therefore prices are kept quite low. But it's a really good question. And like over the long term, it probably could be contained to a point, but there's so much, I guess, flow-on effects of what inflation itself does to like company profits and therefore the stock market and therefore, you know, our investments. And so there's so many, I guess, interrelatedness when it comes to economics and business. And so,
Do you know what we should do? We should write a children's book about economics and do that. And it's like, inflation doesn't like, and, you know, like have it as like a real dumbed down version of how it's all connected. One thing I was thinking when you were talking, Vic, was like, okay, so let's say that inflation does go through the roof. Having your money in the bank is really even worse when inflation
terrible.
is high. Like, it's really bad because and for anyone that's not sure about that, basically it's just the concept that money, like inflation means that every year what you can buy, let's say you have $100 and you wanted to buy a lamp, the next year the lamp will be, say, if inflation's at 20%, $120. So
Yeah.
the $100 you have in the bank, you still have the $100, it's just that you can't buy the same thing with it because that thing has gone up in price. So I was just thinking, if the US economy is totally on the floor, people don't want to invest in the stock market because Donald Trump is terrifying, then where would everyone put their money if they were like, okay, well, I know I shouldn't keep it in the bank. What other investments, I wonder, would do really well?
Gold.
You know, like maybe gold would do really well. Maybe Bitcoin will keep going.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just an interesting thing to think about because, yeah, there'll be people who are like, oh, well, I know that I shouldn't keep it in the bank, but absolutely fuck investing in the stock market because Donald Trump, or, you know?
And there's companies that do well when inflation is high.
Oh, this is what we're talking about in our workshop tomorrow.
Yes.
For anyone that's listening to this, we've put the workshop link to register in the podcast show notes, because that's exactly what we want to talk about. Like, what sort of things are we investing in? What have we been speaking about, like, amongst the club, and like, where is everything at, and how can you make the most of what's going on in the market? Because there are really good things to invest in. It's just that some things do well in this environment and some don't. And like, obviously knowing that is such a head start.
And also remember, when we have high inflation, the way that we bring it down is
Interest rates.
yes. Yeah, interest rates going up, inflation comes down. So that
Yeah,
means
it's a seesaw.
Yeah, it is a seesaw.
So interest rates being high mean that it's harder or scarier to be borrowing money. Oh, shit. So the housing market could have a wobble again because oh, but we're already not doing well. Oh, God.
Remember, we were talking about the US.
Oh, true.
Yeah, we're talking about the US. So yes, inflation might get a bit out of control. They'll increase interest rates, and other countries might not have to do anything, and then that'll kind of keep their inflation under control, but they'll have high interest rates. So there's lots of levers they could pull, but it's all high inflation is never good. So you want it in that kind of 2 to 3% growth is good. Slow but steady.
Okay, we're taking a quick break from this episode to tell you all about our upcoming workshop, or maybe let's just call it a meetup. A meetup of everyone in the community that is interested in finding out what we're investing in right now and why. Because the market is basically on sale right now. Everything's trading at discounted prices. So we've been shopping and everyone has been asking us what we're buying. So we thought, you know what? Let's hold a free workshop. So we're doing this on the 6th of May, and we had a huge turnout last time. And it was so cool to see everyone in there, answer all your questions. And we're really excited to do it again. So if you want to come along, make sure you sign up, and the link to the event is in the show notes of this podcast.
And some other good news. So remember last Curve Weekly, we spoke about petrol prices and oil prices. Yes. Mm-hmm. Petrol's coming down. There's going to be less demand for oil because there's uncertainty in the world. Think of less things moving around the world, less products, less goods, less logistics, less oil, all of that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, there's just like a little flea, like not a flea, like a little fruit fly flying around my head.
I was like, what are you doing?
No, sorry.
This looks so weird.
It was like following me around my head.
It's like, anyway, BP is having an absolute shitter. BP, Shell, ExxonMobil, Chevron, like the 4 biggest oil companies are reporting their results this week. And low oil prices, low petrol prices are really bad for them.
Shame.
And I knew you'd say this. In hindsight, when we were talking about that, we should have taken a moment to be like, okay, there is this thing playing out in the world of oil prices going down. Who is this going to be positive and negative for? Like, this is how we should be thinking. So fast forward to this week, and it's like, oh, this is who is going to be negatively impacted: BP, Chevron, ExxonMobil, and Shell. But anyway, BP's been an absolute shitter for a while. It's had this active investor come on board. So this is when an investor comes in, buys a whole lot of shares, and just tries to do a good job at turning the business around, essentially.
So it would be like, let's just imagine, it would be like John Key deciding that he can do a much better job of the curve. So he tries to buy us.
John Key?
So I've been on this, not a New Zealander. He's an ex-Prime Minister. I don't know why that came to mind.
Yeah.
But it would be like him being like, the curve girls don't know what they're doing. And then he comes in and he buys 50%. And then he's like, I want to get on the podcast. Actually, I'm going to be hosting a new episode every week. And we're going to be talking about.
I can do it better. You should be talking about politics. You should be,
And it's because they own heaps of the business, which means that they can dictate what the business does.
And this is why when businesses are private, it's much, much, much harder to do that.
Because you can't control who buys your stock.
When you're a public company, exactly.
Yeah.
So you can see this little person buying shares, getting bigger and bigger, and then you kind of don't notice them until they're a bit too big, and you're like, oh gosh, okay, now this person's bought a lot of stock. What are they going to do? And then anyway, they can demand a seat on the board, which can really bring about change. They could fire the CEO. Like, there's so many things you can do once you have a big enough shareholding. This is also why companies where the founder or the CEO own a lot of stock is actually quite good, because there's no risk of someone doing this.
Because they can veto the thing. So they're in control of the big decisions.
Yeah. So if a founder owned like 10%, that's still good, but there's still 90% of the shares there that someone could buy and kind of take control over. Whereas if they own like 60%, they've got a majority. So this is why, and it's kind of the difference between public and private companies, as well as that public, you are open to the public. Your shares are available to the public. Anyway, so there is an active investor that's been buying shares in BP, being like, you guys are doing an absolute shit job. I can do better. And people are getting kind of excited because this company and this investor have done this many times before and actually turned around businesses.
Is it?
So Elliott Management. So they have this is kind of their MO. Do you know what I mean? They are active investors. They buy large stakes. They turn them around.
Absolute wankers. I'm sorry, but you must be so arrogant to be like, we're just going to keep buying you. We're going to keep buying you. And now we're going to control you.
Yeah. And we're going to grow your business, and then we're going to sell it, and then we're going to make lots of money. Yeah.
Whoa.
It's kind of what investing is, just not the activeness. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're buying shares in a company with the expectation that just management will do a good job. Whereas this is like, we've got the expertise. We can do a better job.
But it's like trying to buy yourself into a job is what you're doing.
Yeah.
And like publicly too.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Surely it's like 99% guys that do active investing in this way, right?
Well, it's 99% guys in the finance industry, so yeah. But it's kind of like if you buy a small amount of shares and you invest in something, doesn't quite do well, you can kind of be like, oops, sell them, move on. Whereas when you own like...
Oh, true.
Yeah, it is very public, and also you're kind of... You're kind of in there, you've got to make sure that you're picking the right companies to do this too, because
how embarrassing if you fail.
Exactly. Anyway, BP has reduced their share repurchase program. So remember when a company has a share buyback, that's it, buying its own shares. So it's like, you know what, our business is amazing. It's going to do so well in the future. We want to own more of our own shares. So the opposite of that is when you're like, oh, actually, okay, we...
Take us now.
Yeah, and so they're kind of reversing that, which is not a good sign. And it's all because they've realised they don't have the money on the balance sheet, so they don't have enough cash.
This is the best news you've ever brought to the Curve Weekly.
They're like, shit. And now they've got this active investor. And then, anyway, the CEO, like everyone's waiting on the CEO to turn around the business. The cash is running out. You've now got this active investor. So you're kind of running out of time, but
oh no, but hold on, do we want this active investor to take over? Because I would quite like it to keep going down the toilet. Do we think the active investor might do a good job?
It depends what they're willing to change about the business. If it is to kind of accelerate its climate change initiatives or introduce more green projects and things like that, then I'm all for it. If it is to keep going with producing as much oil as they can and effing over the world, then I'm not for it.
Oh God, okay, watch this space. Interesting. I'm so happy with my outfit. Like I know this is, I literally just put them on just before this, and I just keep looking down at what I'm wearing thinking, I look cool.
I look cool. I look cool to be at home doing a podcast
really cool.
on a Thursday night.
God, I've wanted track pants like this for so long. I just love them.
Are they Adidas ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've got green ones. I've got the green ones.
Oh, yeah.
We should dress the same one time. We should actually do a series because we've got so many clothes that are similar.
Oh, yeah, we could. That's actually so funny. Yeah, series. Love it. Anything themed I'll get on board with.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of flights, we're actually in a bit of an airline recession, which I am all here for. Yeah.
What do you mean? Because I'm getting heaps of emails being like, we're on sale.
Yeah.
For all the airlines. Is that what this is about?
Exactly. 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 Yeah. So when we talk about inflation, we talk about this measure called CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index, and that's how it's measured. That's like the official measure. Within that, it tracks like all these different categories or industries. So it tracks like groceries, petrol, electricity, like all these things that make up the overall inflation. One of those is airfares. And within all those categories, airfares are the only one of the only categories that's dropped over the last 15 years. So everything else has gone up and up and up and up and up and up and up. And airlines is the only thing that's fallen.
This is like what you used to talk about in our first ever Curve events, and you'd be like, structural growth industries.
Yes.
Structural growth trends. And I was always like, what are those words? Please make it more simple. But that is that, right? So it's like the airline is heading in the same direction as the newspaper. We are trending out of fashion.
Yeah, it's going, what is it when you go like this on a plane?
Crashing?
Crash landing? Yeah, crash landing.
Diving?
Yeah, diving. Yeah, it's like diving down. So over the last 15 years, like on average, the prices have gone up 50%, 50. You know, if we look at 15 years ago to now, CPI, that official measure, has gone up by 50%. And airlines within that have gone down 4%. So,
but hold on, is that the price of a flight, or is that airlines as a company and the value of the business?
Airfares.
But airfares have gotten so much more expensive.
I know. I was like reading this. I was like, bullshit.
That's not true at all, because if you think about flying to the UK from New Zealand, it used to be like $1,200 return. It's now like, God, you'd be lucky to get it for $5,000 return.
So this is all because 15 years ago, we didn't have nearly as many kind of low-cost carriers that we do. So even though there's still the expensive ones, which are probably still expensive in price, there's been a huge introduction in these low-cost carriers. So that like keeps bringing the price down.
So basically there's flights that are on the ground in terms of prices. So yes, there are expensive flights, but if you search and you find a 50-hour flight from New Zealand to London, you could get a cheaper one, whereas
before
that's
you couldn't.
What's bringing the... Okay.
Yeah, and so it's like competition is really, really good for consumers, for the airline industry. Any industry, competition is great because it keeps companies price competitive, which is awesome. But yeah, I was just like, so when we're complaining about these super expensive airfares, if you actually bring up the facts, the prices have been coming down over the last 15 years. So we should shut up.
I'm still not 100% convinced on that, but...
No, I know. Well, when you don't pay for your own flights, then you wouldn't know.
That's true. That's true.
It's very true.
Actually, you're right. Our flights to Queenstown weren't that expensive. It was probably $450 return, which is super cheap, I reckon, for New Zealand. Like domestic flights here are so expensive.
So expensive. Well, it's also, again, there's a lack of competition.
Oh,
there's only two carriers in New Zealand. If you go to the US, there's like hundreds. So, they have to be really, really price competitive. So this is like when we're talking about the big tech companies and how much they're like not letting little players, thrive and survive in terms of companies, and like, they're stifling the competition. It's all because of that. It means that there is just very little price competition, and therefore we just have to pay the higher prices. So
got it. It's like my fertility. It's like getting your eggs done, because there's like one or two places. So they're very, very expensive. But if you go to Athens, it's cheap as shit.
So don't live in the arse end of the world of New Zealand.
But we've got pretty waterfalls,
Yeah. And rolling green hills.
We do. I'm being a bitch.
That we can frolic in because we won't be able to afford to fly anywhere.
Yeah. Any last minute, like things you'd like to just quickly whip on out? Any quick ones?
One key thing is it is reporting season again. Lots of companies reporting results, which means the stock market, and you'll probably see share prices in your investments jumping around a bit. It's natural. It happens 4 times a year with US companies. But one thing we are really seeing right now is the lack of confidence that management teams have in the future of their business. So we're seeing it come through with like General Motors, airlines, Snapchat, UPS, the parcel service. We're seeing, a lot of companies in a lot of different industries coming out saying, whoa, the world is so uncertain. We can't actually give you an indication of what we think that our profits will be next quarter or next year.
Whoa.
This spooks a lot of people when a company, when companies consistently give regular guidance and regular visibility to investors of the future of their business, and now they can't. It's what you call when a company suspends guidance. So they just say, we're not going to say anything about the future.
Oh, that's so
It gives
intense.
investors a real tough time of how they're supposed to pick.
It's like someone saying, did you cheat on your wife? And you're like, no comment. And everyone's like, oh,
Yes,
well,
yeah.
you definitely did.
Yeah. Whereas if it's like, did you cheat on your wife? I may have.
Or even no.
Yeah.
Or no, I
yeah,
didn't.
Exactly.
Like if you're saying nothing, it's almost like you just expect worst case scenario, don't you?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. It is the worst if you're suspending guidance, like everybody did during
God.
COVID, because
Did they?
nobody knew what the future was look like and look what the stock market did then. So it is, very interesting to see.
So the last thing just to mention, I know we've already said it once, but this is going to be really fun. And we did it like a couple of weeks ago, our workshop. Surprisingly hilarious, wasn't it? It was so much fun.
Yeah.
And there was like hundreds of people there. And
Who knew investing could be fun?
Well, it was just like, I don't know, I think
Yeah.
it surprised me. We did a lot of like research and delivering of news and info and like things that would help people invest in the current environment because we saw such a spike in people wanting to join the club, which is epic. And then we saw this huge spike of people wanting to come to workshops. So we're going to do another one. So for anyone, even if you're new to investing, please come along. It'll be really fun and interesting. And we've put the details in the show notes of the podcast.
Thank you so much for listening to The Curve Weekly. Make sure you hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all the money, biz and stock market news. And if you like what you heard, we would love a review. Thank you.
Yes, we would love a review. But if you
Only
did
the
hate
one.
it, please, don't leave one if you hate it. No, but in all seriousness, could you please leave a review? Because it really helps other people find our cute little podcast.
And we hope you have a good week and see you next Monday.
Bye.
Bye. Sweet. Yeah. See you next Tuesday. Lol. See you next Tuesday. I mean Monday.
No, actually, though, new episodes out every Tuesday. Okay, quickly. The Curve was created to empower and educate you about investing, but we are not financial advisors.
Our platform exists for educational purposes only, and it doesn't provide personalized investing advice for your individual needs and should not be relied upon to make an investment or financial decision.
And always remember to do your own research before making any investment or financial decision.
We're here for any knowledge and support you need, but the final call is always yours.
And thanks for being here.
You got this.
Yeah, we know you got this.